welcome to the first ever episode on haunted historical events that features front-facing camera people. My name is Rebecca, and I have now done a few different videos. I've done Haunted Texas and Haunted Kansas, and now today we're going to be talking about the Belvoir Winery in Liberty, Missouri. If you are enjoying any of our haunted videos, please like and subscribe, and let's get into our video. So, Liberty, Missouri is about 22 miles northeast of Kansas City. It was founded in 1822 and known as the second oldest town west of the Mississippi. It's home to the William Jewell College and the historic Liberty Jail, where the founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith, was imprisoned. So he definitely made an impact. And if you know anything about the Mormons, Independence, Missouri happens to also be a very important place for the Church of Latter-day Saints. So the Belvoir Winery is also known as the Oddfellows Home. The Independent Order of Oddfellows is one of the largest fraternal and benevolent orders in the United States. The chief purpose of the Order of the Oddfellows is to give aid, assistance, and comfort to members and their families. The Oddfellows home was built around 1900. It sits on 240 acres and served as a home for orphans, the elderly. It had a hospital as well as a cemetery. So for me, thinking about my favorite wine coming from a place with a cemetery on property, kind of crazy. So let's talk a little bit about the old folks home, which is what it was called. It's located at the center of the property, and it had door plates with names of the people who inhabited the room to help identify others who lived in what room, basically. The home was supported by acres of farmland surrounding the buildings. In 1901, it had produced 838 bushels of oats, 2,000 bushels of corn, 500 bushels of Irish potatoes, 3 tons of hay, 7,863 gallons of milk, 1,714 pounds of butter, and 325 dozen eggs. They had livestock on property, so they had 3 horses, 52 cattle, 175 poultry, and about 15 hogs. In 1912, there were 111 children on property, and the average age of the resident was around 50 years old. In 1932, the number of children declined to 98, and there were 236 adults. As the programs to help the poor and elderly became more established and popular in the United States at that time, the numbers of people living on property declined significantly. And the concept of nursing homes began taking off at that time, so the elderly really didn't need a place like the Belvoir, which we know now, the Oddfellows home to live and ultimately pass away. Books and newspapers were always available to the residents, and the moving pictures were always free. School meetings would be conducted at the home, and transportation was provided to the church of choice as long as it was within the Liberty area. All holidays were celebrated. There was even a monthly dinner to honor the children who had birthdays that month. Life was really good for the residents when they lived on property. There was an old hospital building, and by 1910, the need for separate building to care for residents was very apparent. In 1923, the old hospital, as it was known, was constructed. For a time, the hospital on the Oddfellows grounds was the only hospital available in Liberty, Missouri. Within 2 decades, a nursing home was built and allowed non-members on property. The Old School. Missouri Oddfellows children and orphans were educated on the property and encouraged to develop many skills in many different areas. In 1908, instrumental music classes were offered, and a boys' band made annual tours of the state. The education the children received was superior to what they would get in their hometowns, basically. High school attendance was not required in the state, but it was required of those at the Old School and Oddfellows property. College tuition was offered as early as the 1920s. With fewer children in the 1940s, the school building eventually closed, and classes were moved to the administration building. The old school building was demolished at some point and is no longer on grounds. So, Oddfellows has a cemetery on property. Not something you would typically think of, right? So, the purpose of Oddfellows, again, is to give aid, assistance, and comfort to members and families. As the Grand Lodge of Missouri would also help in sickness and in death. A cemetery plot, headstone, and burial services were available to all Oddfellows and to those who did not have arrangements to be buried elsewhere. Today, the cemetery contains the remains of about 600 people. Outside the entrance to the cemetery, there is also a memorial dedicated to the Liberty Oddfellows members who were killed during World War II. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is a haunted historical events page. Where's the hauntings? There were many a tragedy on property, and we're just going to talk about a few today. Before modern medicine could prevent and treat illnesses, disease outbreaks became prevalent. Illnesses like influenza and tuberculosis swept through the home periodically. The 1918 flu pandemic claimed numerous lives. In the 1950s, a resident named Nadine died under suspicious circumstances. Some say she took her own life, while others say it was an accident or even foul play. She is one of the most famous ghosts on the property. She appears wearing clothing popular in the 1950s near the areas where the women's dormitory would have been located. She is said to have a melancholy appearance. She's often sad. Nadine is said not to understand that she has passed on, or maybe she is searching for someone or something. Children were a major part of the Oddfellows estate and probably the most heartbreaking spirits you could encounter. Some have reported hearing children's laughter, toys rolling across the floor, or balls bouncing, even apparitions of children in early 20th century clothing. The elderly. The elderly spent their final years at the home, and their continued presence is often heard, seen, or felt. Sounds like shuffling feet, creaking rocking chairs, coughs, and murmurs. Apparitions are seen walking slowly in the hallway, wearing clothing from the early 20th century. An elderly spirit is often seen in a rocking chair, and the chair is seen to be rocking on its own. EVPs in this area have caught an elderly man's voice and even mumbling. Observers call the spirits peaceful but lonely. Some of the most compelling evidence that the Belvoir is haunted is that of the shadow figures. They are described as darker than the surrounding darkness, human-shaped but yet not identifiable. Sometimes these figures are a bit unsettling. Paranormal investigators have captured these figures on video. We'd like to know, how do you like this new formatting? I am the voice of Haunted Texas and Haunted Kansas, and we would definitely like to know what your thoughts are. So let us know down below. If you don't have any thoughts, either way, Give us a wine glass emoji. We'd love to see that you were here. Also, we are working on a couple of new videos. We are working on Haunted Missouri, and I am currently researching for the Lost Boys of Hannibal in Hannibal, Missouri. I have a book that I am currently working my way through in as part of my research, and I'm hoping to have a video out in the next month or so. Depends on how fast I can read through it, depending on my busy schedule. Again, like and subscribe to the video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.